Changing bad habits is a common aspect of your personal development journey. You're curious about what you need to know in order to take action, how to navigate good versus bad habits, and how to change your mindset and behavior. In this video, we're going to explore what you need to know about changing your habits through the concept of junk food habits and treat habits. We'll begin with an important disclaimer about the wording around good versus bad habits, and then we'll define the concept of junk food habits. We'll explore how to know if a habit is nourishing you or not, the number one thing that you need to know about changing habits, a 3-part assessment with sample questions to explore, and your next step for changing bad habits. Who am I to speak on this topic? As a life coach for self-aware individuals, and as someone who specializes in personal fulfillment and interpersonal skills, I work with many clients who are keen to overcome certain habits and step into their fullest potential. What we are talking about today taps into my own training as an internationally board-certified life coach, as well as the work that I have done over many, many years of working with people just like you. You're in good hands if you want to change habits as part of your personal development or self-improvement journey, or if you want to change certain behaviors so that you can finally achieve very specific goals and stop holding yourself back. Let's start with an important disclaimer. I am reluctant to use terminology like good habits versus bad habits because it unnecessarily assigns virtue to one over the other. However, I also understand that many people view habits through that good versus bad lens. So that's why I'm going to use those terms throughout today's video. Many of my clients do have that kind of black and white thinking when we first start working together. You are not alone if you tend to think about things in terms of good versus bad and that sort of thing. It's very common. It's very normal to have that kind of attitude. But I do encourage you to start to get interested in how you might be able to view habits through less of a black and white lens. There's a little bit more nuance to it. So that's why we're also going to explore things today through the concept of junk food habits and treat habits. Have you ever heard of junk food habits? I'm not talking about literal junk food. I'm talking about the habits that we have that are like junk food. You know that those habits aren't the best choice, but they're convenient and easy. They are the habits that you crave, even though they're not really helping you. They're enjoyable in the moment, but you might regret them later on. They're the go-to habits that you know aren't good for you, but you do them anyway. For example, scrolling through social media when it makes you feel bad about yourself. Staying up too late watching TV that you aren't even enjoying. Dropping your shoes and your bag and your keys in the entryway when you arrive home rather than putting them in their designated spaces. Interrupting your productive workflow to answer a quick text even though you know that it could have waited until later. The list goes on. Junk food habits tend to seep into all aspects of life and work. They are sneaky. They often also escalate or feed into one another. What started out as something small that you did just on occasion, for example, 5 minutes of scrolling on Instagram, turns into a daily occurrence. For example, it happens as soon as you wake up in the morning, which then blows up into something that takes up way too much of your time. For example, those 5 minutes somehow crept up and up and up and turned into 50 minutes. And you can't seem to stop yourself even when you see that it is happening. You see yourself doing it. You notice it happening in the moment, and you can't seem to bring yourself to stop doing it. It's like eating one piece of chocolate for dessert, and then that turns into an entire chocolate bar for dessert every single day. One handful of chips becomes a bag of chips. This is not to say that you can't ever stop at one piece, at one handful, at 5 minutes, etc. It's also not to say that you shouldn't have that one piece, one handful, 5 minutes, etc. And it's not to say that you are wrong for having that bar, that bag, that 50 minutes, etc. This is simply to point out that often junk food habits have a sneaky way of escalating without us even realizing what's going on. and without us actively making the decision or giving ourselves the all clear to allow it to escalate. It happens on autopilot without any intentionality, and it often feels as though it's out of our control. Junk food habits often start out as treat habits. And the difference between junk food habits and treat habits is your perception to and relationship with that thing. The difference between junk food habits and treat habits is a matter of your perception and your relationship with that thing. When it's something that feels genuinely good for you in that moment and afterward, and when it's something that brings you joy, and when it's something that adds a little spark to your day, rather than feeling like it's taking away from you, that is a treat habit. Junk food habits are not a problem when they are still treat habits. The problem is when your treat habits transform into junk food habits. When it's something that makes you feel guilt or shame or judgment or resignation in that moment or afterward. And when it's something that you do more as a mindless escape, so there's more of a dullness than a spark. And when it feels automatic, like you don't have much control or power over it, that is a junk food habit. Whether something is a junk food habit or a treat habit really does depend on the person, on your perception of it, on the situation itself, on your relationship with that habit, all kinds of different factors. So one person's treat habit could be another person's junk food habit. And at one point in your life, something that was a treat habit could turn into a junk food habit and vice versa. So there is a lot of nuance to this. No one thing is probably ever going to strictly be always a junk food habit or always a treat habit. It could change depending on the circumstance, the person, all of these different types of things. As I mentioned earlier, junk food habits and treat habits is a much more useful way to approach looking at your habits rather than considering them good versus bad. We want to kind of get out of that black and white sort of thinking. So rather than thinking about habits as good versus bad, what if you instead viewed your habits as nourishing versus not nourishing? This is a shift in your mindset. Keep in mind that nourishing can mean many things. For example, in the literal sense, eating a treat with no nutritional value does not mean necessarily that it is not nourishing. It could nourish your soul. That's how you know that it's a treat and not junk food. If, however, it's more of a numbing experience, and if you're not genuinely enjoying it for itself, then that is likely an indicator that it is not nourishing you. And in that case, it ceases to be a treat and it instead becomes junk food. Here's the good news. Junk food habits can turn back into treat habits. Again, it comes down to your relationship with the habit. One person's treat habit could be another person's junk food habit, and vice versa. Your junk food habit today could be a treat habit tomorrow, and vice versa. The way in which you interact with that habit is what makes it a junk food habit or a treat habit. And by the way, you can learn more about how to change your mindset and behavior, and even more about what to know about changing habits in my free Intuition Activated Masterclass. It is the best free guide to support you in your self-improvement and personal development journey. And it features advanced tips and trainings that you will not find anywhere else on the internet. Check it out at saganmorrow.com/masterclass. Link is in the show notes. So why are junk food habits a problem? Junk food habits take away your power from you. Junk food habits don't contribute anything to your day-to-day life or your mood. Junk food habits are not habits that support you and your goals, your values, your true innermost desires. Junk food habits are numbing. Junk food habits do not nourish you. Understanding the way in which your junk food habits are an obstacle for you is a really important aspect of all of this. I recommend doing an assessment of your junk food habits. This is a great starting point for self-discovery. It will help you learn more about your relationships with your habits and to deepen your relationship with yourself, which is really the foundation of everything. These questions are not necessarily easy to answer, but they will help you to have a more thorough understanding of your junk food habits. And I know that you pride yourself on interpersonal intelligence and your self-awareness abilities. Doing this assessment honors that. First, ask yourself these questions. Number 1, what does this habit do for you? Number 2, what does it give to you? Number 3, what do you get from it? Number 4, what are all of the reasons why you like this particular habit? Second, now that you know what the habit is doing for you, what are some other ways that you could still get those same benefits without succumbing to that junk food habit? For example, what are some of the ways that you can replace the junk food habit with something else that is more nourishing for you? Third, based on your relationship with the junk food habit, at this point in time, do you think that you could turn that junk food habit into a treat habit? What could that look like? Or will it be easier for you to go cold turkey on this junk food habit for a little while so that you can stabilize your relationship with it? Explore each of these questions to understand where you are at right now, what's realistic for you moving forward, and what you need most at this stage. Does any of this feel daunting to you? That's okay. Book your coaching sessions with me. We can work through your junk food habits assessment together in a supportive, compassionate environment. It's the perfect way to stretch your comfort zone and change your behavior without getting too overwhelmed or freaked out in the process. Visit saganmorrow.com/coaching to book your sessions now. Link is in the show notes. Now, a question that often comes up when I'm talking about changing habits with clients is, can I just go cold turkey on this? And that's okay. If you want to go cold turkey on junk food habits, if that feels good for you, you can do that. And also, discipline isn't necessarily the answer here. Because a lot of the times when we think about going cold turkey, we're thinking about, I need to discipline myself. I need to force myself to do this in a specific way. And it in and of itself can actually be less nourishing when you are doing it with that approach, when you're doing it from a discipline, from a I'm going to force myself to do it this specific way type of lens. What I would instead encourage and invite you to do is to think about changing bad habits as creating the building blocks of new, better habits. What are the small, very slight, minor shifts that you can make so that you are pausing the junk food habit, or so that you are still enjoying the benefits of what that junk food habit is doing for you? There is a reason why you gravitate toward different junk food habits. They give you something. You are benefiting from them in some way. And often there's a lot beneath the surface that you might not even realize is helping you. That's why going cold turkey can sometimes be a little bit of an issue, because it might prevent you from really understanding at that deeper level what is the benefit that you are getting from your junk food habit. Going cold turkey doesn't require you to really assess that and analyze that at the deeper level. It can almost be easier to go cold turkey, but it probably will not be as sustainable or long-lasting because you haven't dealt with the real root reasons for why you are gravitating towards those junk food habits. It's important here to A, identify what are the benefits of those junk food habits, and then B, alter those junk food habits or create different habits that then give you those same benefits that the junk food habit did, but in a more nourishing and more helpful sort of way. Your perspective, your attitude, and your mindset are essential for changing bad habits. You are raising the bar, raising your own standards and expectations of yourself, while simultaneously elevating your kindness and compassion toward yourself. It does not need to be a drastic change. And you do not need to feel deprived. You have the power to choose whether these are good versus bad habits based on your perception of them and your relationship with them. Do you want more help with changing bad habits and really paving the way for your next steps of self-improvement? Do you want to maximize your personal growth journey? Learn how to change your mindset and your behavior when you book one-on-one coaching sessions with me. Or you can get a taste test of what to expect from personal fulfillment coaching in my Intuition Activated Masterclass. Links are in the show notes.